Hey there, it's Faith Talk Live. I'm Rick Probst.
And I'm Dan Ratcliffe.
He's back, and we're happy about it. Michael Gembola has a book out. We're going to talk about it, catch up with him, anxious about decisions, finding freedom in the peace of God. Michael, how are you?
Doing great, thanks.
Good to have you back, and all the way from Blue Ridge Christian Counseling. And tell us again where you guys are located?
We're in Southwest Virginia.
Southwest Virginia, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'll bet it's beautiful up there. Are you getting spring at all? We
are.
We sprung some time ago, so we're going back.
Yeah,
in
it's gorgeous up here in the mountains. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, it's been a while since we've talked to you. I think we talked to you last year, somewhere around September or October, about the book, Anxious About Decisions. I do want to ask you a few fresh questions about the book, but first, what's been the response from readers so far?
Well, it's been really encouraging. I've heard about young adult groups reading it. I've heard about people with more kind of obsessive compulsive struggles reading it, finding it useful. Really kind of across the life stage. So it's been encouraging.
I read a stat the other day on the show. Dan, help me if you can remember the specifics, because you know where my brain goes. But it said that Gen Zers, a fresh report out of study that says that they will not share their anxiety, depression, or mental disorders with anybody. They just don't trust people, especially adults, maybe some peers on a level. But I know this book help is for everybody, but you wrote this for young adults in mind, right? Young folk.
Yeah, that's the starting point, because that's where often those big questions get asked of career and marriage, those kinds of things. But yeah, any stage of life, but especially that is often where you get stuck.
Now, is it normal for, not only that age, all of us really, is it normal for us to freeze up when it comes to a decision? I mean, even as simple as where we're going to go for dinner, sometimes we freeze up and go, oh, I don't know. Is that normal for us, our normal go-to?
I think so. I mean, you might say there's a normal range struggle that, anyone can benefit from learning to, how do I live in this world, leave a footprint, trust the Lord with consequences. There's also, you might say, a range of struggle that's outside of the normal range that, in this way, you could say it in a hopeful way, almost, that, hey, there's help for you available. You don't have to struggle or suffer quite this bad. You don't have to deal with this level of impairment and loss of functioning. There's more life that you could be living. Yeah. So that, can I do the both and that, there's a way to normalize it and encourage people. They're not crazy, but also to say, hey, there's room to grow.
Right. Definitely.
Michael Gembola, the book is called Anxious About Decisions, Finding Freedom in the Peace of God. I don't know if I should bring this up or not, but I get anxiety when I ask my wife, where do you want to eat? and then she says, well, wherever you want to. And of course, if there's a Mrs. Gembola, you know the rest of the story, right?
Sure. Yeah, there's yeah, the third part of the book, the last part is the small stuff. How do you walk through getting stuck on small decisions that in the scheme of life aren't that important, but can actually hang you up.
Right. On a serious note, though, you do talk about shalom, the peace of God. Kind of explain the peace of God, your revelation and what you found, your studies, what you found about the shalom and how that can be an active part instead of anxiety.
Right. So the choice to talk about peace was on purpose. It was a lot of resources about decision anxiety talk about finding the will of God, and that ends up being a question that raises a lot of anxiety for a lot of people. And that's a valuable question to ask, but I oriented the book toward the peace of God, to say that, when the Lord enters your life, when he enters redemptively into Israel's story, he is bringing his peace, his prosperity, his welfare, this state of affairs that's good for everyone. He's making this place good and settled, rightly ordered. And when he does that in our hearts, he's orienting us to a steadiness that's that can last even when life is not steady and when life is uncertain. That you trust him. You don't know his will in all the details. We know, yes, his will is to love your neighbor. Yes, his will is to follow him, but we don't know his will about where to go to dinner. You don't know his will necessarily about what college major to take. And,
Right.
no, sometimes in his kindness, he makes it really clear, but other times he wants you to make that decision and trust him with the results. So being oriented to the peace means you're looking not so much for certainty, but a peace and a steadiness, trusting in him, that then that peace in your heart, you work in the world. So it's not just, can I get myself sorted, but can I be steady in the Lord and then bring that to my calling.
Michael, what do we do when we have someone in our life who shares our last name and is of the opposite gender? I'm trying to be nice here. Who does tend to overthink and overtalk and overanalyze everything, and no matter how much one of us says, just trust in God and go in peace. They still tend to struggle with that.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're drawn on the kind of the stereotypical and the male female, which often in marriage counseling I see it go the other way too.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
but I get what you're saying in marriage, right? There's one is anxious, and then one is trying to comfort and settle the anxious,
right?
And you kind of chase each other around.
Right.
You can't get to it.
Right. Yeah. So how do we move on from there?
Yes. Well, one of the things I've found kind of surprisingly helpful or encouraging is when I've been working with someone with, just say it's even worse than a lot of what I talk about in the book. Let's say it's kind of full blown OCD, and they're begging their spouse for certainty. Can I be sure that I'm not going to get sick from not washing my hands another time, or can I be sure that? And the spouse is trying to give that assurance, and it's never good enough because you can't get certainty. Now, that's true for the little stuff too. The desire for certainty. So I say, if you were to ask your spouse for something and something other than assurance, what could they give you? Because what if they said, I can't give you assurance right now because anxiety is pleading for that, reaching for that, right? And you end up with some other kind of really sweet opportunities to serve. So I wish I could assure you that this bad thing's not going to happen, but I can't. I'm here with you. I can bear this burden with you. I can be here for you. Do you want a hug? There are a lot of things we can offer other than certainty. Now, you might have confidence that the bad thing's not going to happen, but often the progress to get through anxiety is to be able to live in the world where these kinds of things happen and somehow still be able to go forward.
Good stuff.
Michael Gembola, the book is called Anxious About Decisions, Finding Freedom in the Peace of God. Now, this is in the Christian Counselor series, and it's been out since last September. So, Michael, are you working on a follow-up, or are you just kind of letting this sit there for a while and mature?
I've been doing some work with a former colleague in the direction of really difficult marriage situations where the question of biblical grounds and divorce is on the table. So that's something that I'm not going to rush. It's going to be careful and make sure that's done carefully. So that may not be right around the corner.
Yeah, a lot of prayer through that one for sure.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Yes,
definitely. And so folks go to brccva.org and you can find information about the book. Any other resources or cool things they can find there on the website?
Sure. That's the organization that I work for, where I serve as the director. And it's we offer consultations, we offer counseling, we offer training. There's a range of things you'll find on the website of what happens under the umbrella of our organization.
Okay.
Michael, thank you so much. We appreciate your hard work, and we look forward to the next book that you were just talking about. Much needed.
Yeah, sadly.
Dan and I have dealt with so many people in our lives over the years, and it's just it's been a struggle. But thank you for doing that with your coworker or your co-writer there, and let us know so we can get you back on the show. Michael Gembola, the Anxious About Decisions book, Finding Freedom in the Peace of God, brccva.org, the website to go to. Let's take a break. We will be right back. I'm Rick Probst.
And I'm Dan Ratcliffe.
This is Faith Talk Live.